Jana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Giri Dhari Shri Radhe Jayo Radha Jayo Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Shubhadra, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya. So we'll continue reading from Srila Prabhupada Lila Amrita. Yesterday we finished at 1012. Just when Srila Prabhupada is starting to observe, just when Srila Prabhupada is observing Janmashtami. So continuing on August 14th, Srila Prabhupada observed Janmashtami, the birthday of Lord Krishna. On the next day, Prabhupada's own 75th birthday, a paperback book of collected homages by his disciples arrived. Many of the Vyaspuja homages praised Srila Prabhupada for his extensive traveling to deliver fallen souls all over the world and for the vast scope of his merciful preaching. This year you have been traveling to India personally speaking and managing ISKCON, and showing us the meaning of Acharya by example. And now you're traveling and inspiring the devotees and centers in the US and Europe. At Vyaspuja time, we, your intimate children, are gathered at your feet to tell you our feelings as best we can. By your blessings, we can go forth from this Vyaspuja gathering of 1971 and all the devotees together as one great ISKCON, without faction, truly perform the work with our thoughts, words, and deeds. Let us go and distribute this literature of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna message, kindly delivered to the Western countries. Let us cooperate without ill feelings among ourselves. Let us very strictly observe all the regulative principles and stay as pure representatives. Let us celebrate pure Sankirtan and magazine distribution to please you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All your disciples pray that you will remain in our presence for many years to come, and by our cooperation you will be able to spend time writing volumes of Bhagavatam while we carry on the program and mission of your Guru Maharaj. Prabhupada's ill health continued. I was sick for 4 or 5 days, now I'm a little better, but the disease is prolonging in a different way. I cannot sleep at night more than 2 hours, and during the day sometimes I'm feeling dizziness. Otherwise, everything is all right. I'm chanting Hare Krishna as usual and writing my books regularly. Sham Sundar. Aravinda and I were sleeping right outside Prabhupada's room. I was in a lower bunk bed and I heard Shamasundara. It was a really urgent sound, and I woke up so hard that I hit my head on the bunk above. I ran into Prabhupada's room. As I was opening the door, he collapsed in the doorway. I caught him. He felt so light, like a little doll, and his face was gray. I took him over to his bed and thought, oh my God, what's going on? He was shivering. I turned the electric heater way up and put it next to his bed. I covered him with a lot of blankets and waited. He was just still. His eyes were closed. Finally, he said, Shamsundar, go get me some black pepper. He described how to make a black pepper paste. Rub it on my forehead, he said, so I ran down to the kitchen and prepared it, and came up and put it on his head. I asked him, are you... what's wrong? I don't believe he made a response. He closed his eyes and appeared to be asleep. I slept there by him on the floor for a while. At some point in the night, he said, you may go back to your room. I'll be all right. He stayed in bed until about 8 or 9 o'clock the next morning, and then he was just completely well, like nothing had happened. His spirit was so strong that although he had countered devastating blows to his body, he had come right out of it. I could tell it wasn't a physical event. He had made a full recovery from what must have been something close to death. One day, while meeting with an Indian man, a Mr. R.B. Pandya from Mombasa, East Africa, Prabhupada mentioned his illness. Mr. Pandya said he owned a house on the ocean at Mombasa, where it was always sunny and warm with pleasant sea breezes, a perfect place for Prabhupada to recover his health. Mr. Pandya invited Prabhupada to go and live there as long as he liked. Taking the offer seriously, Prabhupada began to think of going to Africa, not only for health, but for preaching. 3 months ago, he had sent Brahmanand Swami and Jagan Nivas to East Africa, so a visit there would encourage them as well as enable Prabhupada to work personally at expanding the Krishna consciousness movement on the African continent. Prabhupada sent Bhavananda and Naranarayan from London to Mombasa to see if it would really be possible for him to stay there, as Mr. Pandya had suggested. When Bhavananda and Naranarayan arrived, Brahmanand Swami, who had been struggling in East Africa with only one assistant, was delighted to see them and hear that Prabhupada was coming soon. Previously, Brahmanand Swami had been preaching in Florida, and Prabhupada had written him to go to Pakistan. Immediately, he had gone along with one assistant, Jagannavas, flying up to Paris and then taking the Orient Express through Eastern Europe. On hearing that war fever was building in Pakistan, Prabhupada had sent a second letter to Brahmanand Swami in Florida, advising him not to go to Pakistan. But Brahmanand Swami had never received the letter. En route to Pakistan while holding public kirtan in Turkey, Brahmanand and Jagan Nivas had been arrested and detained for several days on suspicion of being Christian missionaries. Finally, Brahmanand and Jagan Nivas had arrived in Pakistan, where students had spit at them, accused them of being spies, threatened them, and called them names. Several times, people on the street had rubbed the Vaishnav tilak off the devotees' foreheads and warned them not to show themselves in public, or they would be stabbed. Local Hindus had warned the devotees to leave as soon as possible, and so they had reluctantly decided to go to Bombay to see Prabhupada. Meanwhile, in Bombay, Prabhupada had read in an Indian newspaper that Pakistani soldiers in Dhaka had killed 4 Hare Krishna missionaries. I'm very much anxious to know about Brahmananda, Prabhupada had written. The day has been full of anxiety with this bad news, and still it is going on. When Srila Prabhupada had heard that Brahmanand Swami had actually arrived in Bombay, he had asked to see him at once. Like a father recovering his lost child, Prabhupada had embraced him. You risk your life just on my order, Prabhupada had said. After some days, Prabhupada had told Brahmanand Swami, you should go to Africa. If you go, then we will be on all continents. Now, after preaching in Africa, Brahmanand Swami eagerly waited the visit of his beloved spiritual master. Nairobi, September 9, 1971. As Srila Prabhupada disembarked in Nairobi from the East Africans Airlines 747 jet, he wore a wool chadar over his shoulders and carried the same white vinyl attaché case he had taken with him all over the world. Flanked by his secretary and servant, he walked with his cane across the airfield toward the terminal building. Inside, he sat on a cloth-covered chair and joined in the kirtan while Indians and Africans gathered around to watch. Kulbhushana, a journalist and friend of Brahmanand Swami's, approached Prabhupada with questions. He asked Prabhupada what he had come to teach, and Prabhupada answered, modern civilized man has forgotten his relationship with Krishna or God and is therefore suffering. Whether you're Hindu, Muslim, or Buddhist, that doesn't matter. Unless you re-establish your relationship with God, you cannot be happy. Have you come only for Hindus? Asked Mr. Bhushana. No, Prabhupada replied, for everyone, Mr. Bhushana. East Africa, especially Kenya, is one of those countries which enjoys a great amount of racial harmony and brotherhood of man. What is your special message you can bring to Kenya? Srila Prabhupada. That brotherhood of man can be complete when they are in God consciousness. Otherwise, it will again break. Mr. Bhushana, so your disciples will be making special efforts to reach the Africans rather than confine themselves to the Hindus? That is very important here in this country. Srila Prabhupada, our method is the same, but the method is so powerful that it appeals to everyone. We do not have to convey a new method for a new place. The method is the same, universal. It will appeal to everyone. After spending one night in Nairobi, Prabhupada and his party flew the next day in a small propeller aircraft to Mombasa. Mr. Pandya was away, and his family, although not very enthusiastic, opened their home to Srila Prabhupada. The large house was of contemporary design, with rounded corners, porthole windows, and spacious living room with a veranda facing the ocean. Prabhupada, standing by the window in his room, beheld an aquamarine sea, a cloudless blue sky, and a white sandy beach fringed with palms. Turning back toward Brahmananda Swami and the others, he said, Brahmananda told me that this was one of the most beautiful places in the world. Now I see he is correct. Prabhupada had come with chronic cough, but walking on the beach and relaxing in the Mombasa sunshine, he soon recovered his health. Prabhupada maintained his program. Prabhupada maintained his program begun in London of daily dialogues with Shamsundara concerning the Western philosophers. Chronologically, he had proceeded from Socrates to Descartes. Shamsundara. He is saying, I think, therefore I am. First of all, he has discovered that I am. This was his innate basis for truth. In his time, there was no real authority. Prabhupada. But this is not big knowledge. Long, long ago, there were many who could understand I am. This is called Atmanam Manyate Jagat. A fool thinks all others are fools. He is not the first man to realize the identification of the self. Krishna says Aham. Aham evasam evagre. I existed in the beginning, and when everything is finished, I shall continue to exist. This we also say I existed before this body was created, and I shall exist when the body is annihilated. This conception of I is there in God, it is in me, then where is the new thing? As soon as he felt better, he was ready to preach Mombasa. He was ready to preach. Mombasa, he said, was a small place, and Nairobi, the capital, would be better for preaching, so he returned to Nairobi. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll move on to the verse. That's 5:16:1. Raja Uvacha. Uktastvaya bhumandalayama vishesho tapati yatra chasho jyotisam ganesh chandrama vasaha drishyate. Would someone else also like to read it, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, I am trying. Raja Uvacho Ukto Toya Bhumandala Ayam Vishesha Javat Aditya Tapoti Jantra Cha Asho Jyotisham Gane Chandrama Vashaha Drishyate. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, beta. May I try,
Hare Krishna,
please?
Mataji. Yes, please, Mataji.
राजवाच उक्तस्त्वया भूमण्डलायं विशेषो यावत् आदित्यस्तपति यत्र चाशो ज्योतिषां गणैश्चन्द्रमा वासः दृश्यते. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी धन्यवाद प्रणाम I will
Krishna,
try.
Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
राजोवाच उक्तस्त्वा भूमण्डलयं विशेषो यावत् आदित्यस्तपति यत्र चासौ ज्योतिषं गणये चन्द्रमा वासः दृष्टयते. Thank you माताजी.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And then we'll move on to word by word. Raja Uvacha, Maharaj Parikshit said, Ukta, already been said, Tvaya, by you, Bhumandala, of the planetary system known as Bhumandala, Ayama Vishesha, the specific length of the radius, Yavat, as far as, Aditya, the sun, Tapati, heat, Yatra, wherever, Cha, also, Asal, that, Jyotisham, of the luminaries, Gane, with hordes, Chandrama, the moon, Va, either, Saha, with, Drishyate is seen. And translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. King Parikshit said to Sukadev Goswami, O Brahmana, you've already informed me that the radius of Bhumandala extends as far as the sun spreads its light and heat, and as far as the moon and all the stars can be seen. And so, purport. In this verse, it is stated that the planetary system, known as Bhumandala, extends to the limits of the sunshine. According to modern science, the sunshine reaches Earth from a distance of 93 million miles. If we calculate according to this modern information, 93 million miles can be considered the radius of Bhumandala. In the Gayatri Mantra, we chant Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. The word Bhur refers to Bhumandala. Tatsavitur Varenyam, the sunshine spreads throughout the Bhumandala. Therefore, the sun is worshipable. The stars, which are known as nakshatra, are not different suns as modern astronomers suppose. From Bhagavad Gita 10:21, we understand that the stars are similar to the moon. Nakshatranam aham sashi. Like the moon, the stars reflect the sunshine. Apart from our modern distinguished estimations of where the planetary systems are located, we can understand that the sky and its various planets were studied long, long before Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled. Sukadev Goswami explained the location of the planets, and this indicates that the information was known long, long before Sukadev Goswami related it to Maharaj Parikshit. The location of the various planetary systems was not unknown to the sages who flourished in the Vedic age. So I'll just quickly do this. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatho jayam udirayet shrinvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtanam hridyantastohi abhadrani vridunoti surutsatam nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavad sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Before we jump into the purport, because this is a new chapter, it has a very short summary. So I'll just bring the summary up. And the summary basically describes Bhumandala. So, description of Jambudweep, chapter 16. While describing the character of Maharaj Priyavrata and his descendants, Sukadev Goswami also described Meru Mountain and the planetary system known as Bhumandala. Bhumandala, like a lotus flower, and its 7 islands is like a lotus flower, and its 7 islands are compared to the whirl of lotus. The place known as Jambudweep is in the middle of that whirl. In Jambudweep, there is a mountain known as Sumeru, which is made of solid gold. The height of this mountain is 84,000 yojanas, of which 16,000 yojanas are below the earth. Its width is estimated to be 32,000 yojanas at its summit and 16,000 yojanas at its foot. 1 yojana equals approximately 8 miles. This king of mountains, Sumeru, is the support of the planet Earth. On the southern side of the land, known as Ilavrita Varsha, are the mountains known as Himavan, Hemakut, and Nishada. And on the northern side are the mountains Nila, Shweta, and Shringa. Similarly, on the eastern and western side, there are Malyavan and Gandhamadana, 2 large mountains. Surrounding Sumeru Mountain are 4 mountains known as Mandara, Meru Mandara, Suparshva, and Kumura, each 10,000 yojanas long and 10,000 yojanas high. On these 4 mountains, there are trees 1,100 yojanas high, a mango tree, a rose apple tree, a kadamba tree, and a banyan tree. There are also lakes full of milk, honey, sugarcane juice, and pure water. These lakes can fulfill all desires. There are also gardens named Nandana, Chitrartha, Vaibrajaka, and Sarvatobhadra. On the side of Suparsva mountain is a Kadamba tree with streams of honey flowing from its hollows, and on Kumuda mountain there is a banyan tree named Satavalsa, from whose roots flow rivers containing milk, yogurt, and many other desirable things. Surrounding Sumeru mountain, like filaments of the whorl, are of a lotus, are 20 mountain ranges, such as Kuranga, Kurura, Kushamba, Vaikunka, and Trikuta. To the east of Sumeru are the mountains Jathara and Devakuta. To the west are Pavana and Pariyatra. To the south are Kailasha and Karavira. And to the north are Trishringa and Makara. These 8 mountains are about 18,000 yojanas long, 2,000 yojanas wide, and 2,000 yojanas high. On the summit of Mount Sumeru is Brahmapuri, the residence of Lord Brahma. Each of its 4 sides is 10,000 yojanas long. Surrounding Brahmapuri are the cities of King Indra and 7 other demigods. These cities are 1/4 the size of Brahmapuri. And back to text 1. So basically, chapter 16, it's providing a description of Jambudweep and how it's sort of like a giant cosmic map that we see, and not. I'm just going to bring up my notes as well, side by side. And sort of like a conscious plane, and center is Jambudweep. Around it are oceans, islands. Each of them have their own rhythm, as we saw. And each of these, I guess, they can be sort of translated into the levels of experience, consciousness, and opportunity for spiritual growth. Like how once it goes up, at the top of Mount Sumeru, there's Brahma, Indra, and this, and how it's also normally said that usually with how there's a difference of planes in the heavens and in on the earth to practice spirituality, Krishna consciousness. And one of the things which I think that we can compare this with modern science is as to how modern science usually says that everything must be measurable, through distances, orbits, particles. There needs to be a way to quantify it. And this 93 million to the sun, 93 million miles to the sun, that's, given us through modern science, through astrophysics, that there's 93 million signs. These are the exact measurement of the planetary orbits. These are the black holes, which is still under research, dark energy. And modern science sort of wants to see it through a telescope. But what we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam is that there's also the spiritual perception that's required to see it rather than just seeing it with a telescope or anything. And even with the text in the purport, how it's linked to 1021, and on 1021, where Krishna says, "And among the stars, I'm the moon." And in the purport, it goes, "Among the stars, the moon is the most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna." It appears from this verse that the moon is one of the stars, therefore the stars that twinkle in the sky also reflect the light of the sun. So our stars, I mean, even scientifically, they're considered cosmic regulators, in the sense that they, like most of the elements, the chemical elements they are formed from these stars, from the breakage or the forming of these stars. And they provide light energy, and even historically, how the stars have been used as a form of navigation. And back to, and again, from a more scientific perspective as well, the most simplest way, the sun and the moon, the purpose is to provide Earth with essential heat and light, with climate, weather, controlling that, photosynthesis, gravity holding the solar system, and the moon, how it stabilizes the tilt of the earth, manages the tides, the gravitational pull of the tides, managing the tides through the moon's gravitational pull, and both how they have phases to mark time, seasons and years, and months and festivals that we can see with the lunar calendar. And again, from a more scientific perspective, if there was no sun, then, it'll get very cold. There would be oceans freezing, life won't be able to be sustained, no photosynthesis, food chain would be affected as well, leading to, extinction, carnivores eating others, herbivores won't be able to survive. Basically, the only creatures that would be able to survive is those that are right at the bottom of the ocean that don't require the sun. And if there's no moon, then, the days would be shorter and faster, the seasons would be unstable, and the tides would be very altered and unpredictable. So seeing this from the Srimad Bhagavatam's perspective, how perfectly the earth or the Bhumandala has been created by Krishna, that it basically extends further out to the sun. We have the stars that, provide us all the chemicals, elements and everything that provide us to sustain life, and, help us with navigation, marking of time and all. And the sun, it's also in the Konark Sun Temple in near Jagannath Puri. There was this visual of the sun being pulled by the seven horses, and these seven horses, they basically symbolize time and rhythm, the seven measures of time with day, week, with hour, day, week, month, season, and half year and year. And even otherwise, how the sun, it's considered to be giving life, sustaining life everywhere. Now, each of these horses, along with, because there was mention of Gayatri in the Purport as well, how each of these horses, they also describe the Vedic meters, the chandas. So that also sort of shows, even again from astrophysics as well, as to how, so Vedic meters, Vedic chandas, that's basically the vibration, the sound vibration in a way. And the universe, even from an astrophysics, quantum physics as well, it sort of vibrates in rhythm. And these seven horses that carry the sun, they are basically named Gayatri, Brihati, Ushnik, Jagati, Drishtup, Anushtup, and Pankti. And these are the name of the seven various Vedic meters. So with Vedic meters, how that's basically a way of sound. If we again translate this into, not translate, transpose it from modern physics, there's two theories that I was reading about recently. The first is quantum field theory, where all particles are basically considered that they have fields that are underlying them, and these particles are excitations of these fields. And if we see this in parallel to the Srimad Bhagavatam, then they are all manifestations of these, that all matter, all particles, all fields, they are a manifestation of Krishna's energy. And they may, and then the string field theory, which says that there's one field, I'm not entirely sure of it exactly. I've forgotten the exact wording, but basically there is a single unifying field, and this unifying field also causes the movement in all of the others, all of the other dimensions. And then the parallel to this is the 14 planetary systems that we have across, with the Srimad Bhagavatam, again saying that this single field that we have, the string field that we have, that is Krishna as a single source orchestrating everything. So this was a very short verse. I couldn't really also prepare much without diving down a lot more into it. And yes, this is all that I had prepared. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you very much.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, you got to get a description of the Jambudip. Yeah, very nice. Whatever you
You.
collected, but it's a vast course. Of course, it brings about the cosmology, the whole, how the formation of the universe is there, and it's showing that how Priyabrata, with his power, made this universe into different parts to understand that how this Bhumandala is made up of. The whole description is there in chapter 16 and onwards to tell us about how how great was Priyabrata Maharaj. He's not a simple ordinary man. He's as good as Krishna himself. So the power and this extension of his kingdom is being brought up in this Jambudip. And Jambudip is one of the center, which is main part is Bhumandal. And Bhumandal contains all this description we'll come to later on to give us the idea, the creation made by Lord Sri Krishna. So we can understand the greatness of Lord. And one of the great devotee, Priyabrata, made this in the power of by the power of Lord Krishna. How this Bhumandala is made, and the description tells us the richness of this Bhumandala. So we can later on see the full description. However, till now, you nicely brought up the description, which is very, very important for us to understand the greatness of Priyabrata Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna. And I also just, while reading Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, again, back to the string field or even just the description of Bhumandala overall, Krishna also says that Aham eva sa eva agre. I existed in the beginning, and when everything is finished, I shall continue to exist. So even before the modern physics of Big Bang, and even the destruction that we see, Krishna is still beyond all of that. Krishna is still, he existed before it happened. He also existed once it's all destroyed as well. He will still continue to exist.
Mm.
So, Hare Krishna. Should we finish here, Nandvich Prabhuji?
Nandvesh Prabhu is not here, Mataji. It's Persian Das here. Prabhu is in
Okay.
India, so I'm just helping
Oh,
out.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
if there's no questions or comments, we can stop. But if there's a last opportunity for if anybody has any questions or comments. Thank you, Dr. Chandra Prabhu, for nicely summarizing the class. Yeah, it was a very nice class and a bit technical as well sometimes, this kind of lectures. But Mataji mentioned it very nicely and explained it. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I wanted to go into a bit more detail. I was thinking, but for that, I didn't want to open up quite literally the black hole of going down into this.
Yeah, I know it gets messy sometimes.
Yes. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Mancha
Krishna.
kalpatarubhyascha
Kalpataruभ्यश्च
kripa
कृपासिन्धुभ्यो
sindhubhyevacha patitani
पतितानां
pavanebhyo
पावनेभ्यो
Vaishnavabhyo namo namo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Brinda ki
की
jai,
जय।
Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
जय।
Krishna Kantha
Srila
ki jai,
Prabhupada
Gaur
Hare
Premanande,
Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol,
Hare
all
Hari
devotees,
Bol.
assembled devotees, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
This is actually, hard topic, cosmology. Yeah, we'll go through
Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
Hare
it's a
Krishna.
vast course. Yeah.
Yeah.